Okay, so first of all, let's attach the piping to the sleeve. This is the pre-binding piping that you get on a roll, and generally the quality of this piping isn't as brilliant as making your own, but if it's something that's not going to be worn a lot, then I would recommend using this. Now the way we're going to attach this is by placing the wrong side of the piping up with the right side of the jacket fabric, and just basically stitching around the armhole, just cutting the piping. Make sure that the piping is sort of like centered, and it's because we're going to seam over this. This is just to hold the two together so that the secondary seam is easier to do and is also the binding is held in place. So this is really to hold the binding onto. So we just overlapped it slightly, and then just going to leave a slight bit of excess. Where I've crossed it over, I'm just going to hold the two together and just run a seam over it. So this is now attached, and what we'll do is it's easier to sew from the inside. So we're going to turn the garment slightly towards, and then turn this over and run a secondary seam. We're going to place the camera in a slightly different angle so you can get a better view of what it is I'm showing you. So this is the piping, and we're going to place the piping. I'm just going to fold this over. I'm going to place the piping Now what you've got to remember is that these tips are for beginners, for learners, and for anyone who's actually in the early stages of sewing, because once you've gained experience, you can cut a lot of these corners out, and you can go directly to perhaps applying the, you know, piping on directly without the need to actually pre-tack it. And this is basically what you're doing in this, is you're pre-tacking the piping to the garment, so that when you're doing the secondary seam, it is easier. So we turn this wrong side and then go towards the inside of the garment, turn that over, so now this is facing the right side, and I would say it's good to learn all the different techniques, but then if you can do something in an easy way and quicker, then you know there's no reason why, especially on garments which you're actually sewing. These, I call these disposable garments, because I think the usage and the amount of wears that Inaya is going to get out of this are going to be not as much. I have actually gone and done it too fine, and it's not actually tacked it down. Just going to run over a small portion of this. When I did the initial tacking, I've done it too far out, and it's not actually caught the fabric. Now with children, I think majority of the time these garments don't get worn a lot. You know, you'd wear them a couple of times and then they get thrown away or get put in charity bags. I know in Aya's case, there are times when I actually make her stuff and she'd hardly wear it at all. Maybe it didn't suit her, maybe her mum didn't like it, maybe, I don't know. So whilst we're on the prepared skirt, I've put the gathers in. I'm going to attach add the same piping to the bottom of, but we're going to do it in the one go this time. Now the reason why this is easy to do in the one go is because the net is fine and it's actually easily visible and see-through, so when you're turning this, you can actually see the bottom layer of the piping as well, and you know you're not missing it or you're not going too far over. So on something like this, it's fairly easy to do. That, you know, there are specialist parts that you can get where you can actually insert this binding through the foot, and you can actually do it. It folds and tucks it in as it goes along. Now I've actually got to experiment with those different feet. I shall experiment and let you know how I get on in the meantime. As I mentioned, you know, it's majority of time these methods and techniques are only perfected through practice. So the more you actually do this, the more perfect you would become at doing something like this. You can occasionally sway. If you don't pay close attention to what you're doing, then it's easy enough to actually sway.